Hi, this is another video that was completely unplanned, but I came across this loading animation and my first thought was I can simplify this by quite a bit. So let me show you here. So first off, the HTML, let's just align this properly because it looks like it got copy pasted from somewhere with a larger indentation. As you can see, there are two elements, each with 4 children, quite a few elements. As far as the CSS is concerned, again, there's quite a bit of it, obviously more elements being styled, but then there are also these sets of keyframes with a lot of keyframes. So what I'll be doing today is coding something like this with a single HTML element and a lot less CSS, something around 25-30 declarations, and also we'll have real transparency there because let me show you here. If we replace this with let's say blue, you're going to see that those are covers, they're not real transparency there. So yeah, we'll have real transparency, and I'll be showing you how you can have shadows on the inside as well. So let's get started. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, as you can see, one element there. Now let's handle a few things on the body. So for example, layout, display, yeah, I don't know how to type, grid. Okay, get rid of the margin, make height full height, and just to make that real transparency more obvious, let's use a repeating linear gradient. Let's say it's going to be something at 45 degrees, and we're going to have black with an alpha of 0.2 up to 4 pixels, let's say. Then we're going to have full transparency all the way up to, let's say, 13 pixels, something like that. Okay, so this should pretty much do it. And now we can just collapse this and move on to the actual loader. So here again, we're going to have display grid. We're going to have two pseudo elements, so the before and the after. And the way we differentiate between them is we're going to have a switch, which is going to be 0 on the before, and then on the after, we change this to 1. Of course, we need to set content because nothing is going to show up without this. Then we're going to set a grid area, so they're both on the first row and on the first column, and they overlap, first column. Okay, let's set a background, and this should cover the entire area because by default this is stretch. But if we set place self center instead of stretch, then they're both going to have a size of 0 by 0, so we're not going to see anything anymore. But if we now set padding, so 6.5 ems, let's say, something like this, then we're going to see something. Okay, and what we want is this color, not that black. Just to see things, let's set box shadow, something like this. Okay, now they're both having the same size here, so that's something we need to fix. But before that, it kind of bothers me, so just round it. Okay, so let's give them different sizes. So here we're going to use calc, and we're going to divide this by 1 plus I. So if I is 0, we're going to divide by 1. If I is 1, we're going to divide by 2. So this is why the after is smaller, because we're dividing 6.5 by 2. Okay, so having done this, we're going to change this background a little bit because that's not what we want. A solid background is not it. So what we'll be doing is use radial gradient, closest side, we don't even have autocomplete for that. And then we'll be having transparent, that color, and then again transparent. Now let's set a percentage here, so let's say something like 80%, and we'll be using this here, so let's say that percentage. Then we're going to have a sharp stop, then we're going to go to 100%, and yeah, so something like this. But as you can see, we have jagged edges there, and we don't want that, so we're going to introduce a bit of a 1 pixel transition in between there. So it's not going to go from 80% to 80%, it's going to go from 80% minus 1 pixel, and for this we're going to need to use a calc because they're different units. So calc minus 1 pixel here, and again here we'll be using 100%, so it's going to be calc minus 1 pixel. Okay, let's do something about the alignment so everything looks nicer. Okay, so like this. And as I said, we're not going to leave this box shadow in. I'm going to show you how to get shadow on the inside as well, and that's with a filter. So filter, drop shadow. Let's put that in there, and we should see it now. Okay, that looks cool. And as you can see, there's real transparency there, but we want to have those segments. So we're going to do this with a mask. So for example, if you have something like WebKit mask, linear gradient, transparent, red, transparent, it's going to look something like this, right? So we're going to want to have just a small slice there in the middle on both sides of 50%. So we're going to have a little offset from 50%. So let's say that's going to be something like 5 pixels. So actually, let's take this, use a list custom property here. So list, it's going to be something like this. So here we'll be having calc 50% minus that offset, right? And we're going to want to have it on the other side, so it's going to be plus, sharp transition, so 0, and on the other side, as I said, we're going to have plus, and again transparent 0 to have a sharp transition. And of course that's the opposite of what I want, but we'll take care of that in a moment. So we have this gradient, and we can add a second one that's very similar, but at 45 degrees. And then we can take these two gradients and have 90 degrees here, 135 degrees here. Okay, and this is pretty much the opposite of what we want, so we need to invert this. And the way we do it is adding a fully non-transparent layer, which is going to be solid layer, a fully solid layer, and then XORing what we have with that fully solid layer. So linear gradient, red, red, so both have the alpha equal to 1, and the RGB components don't matter, only the alpha component matters. And we have WebKit mask composite, and I actually wrote an article on the topic of mask compositing, and it will be linked in the description, so you can go check it out. And this is going to be XOR, right? So as you can see, we have those segments exactly as we want them. Now for the animation, because that's all that's left. So keyframes, this is going to be the rotation, and let's use the same percentage, 100%, rotate 45 degrees. Now here we can set animation. By the way, in Chromium you need to enable the experimental web platform features flag. It doesn't work without the flag. This rotate 45 degrees, the transform properties, the individual transform properties. So let's say this is going to be 1 second, linear, infinite. Okay, so having done this, but that's not quite what we want. We want the inner one to move in the other direction. So one should be moving in one direction, and the other one should be moving in the other direction. So calc, and this is going to be 1 minus 2 times I. So if I is 0, this is going to be 1. If I is 1, this is going to be minus 1. So it's going to be either 1 times 45 degrees or minus 1 times 45 degrees. So yeah. Now for the scaling part, keyframes, this is going to be the scaling animation, and this is going to be half that percentage. And we're going to want to have a scale, but only for the outer one. So it's going to be something like calc 1 plus 1 minus I times 0.1. Okay, and then we'll be having 0%, that percentage, 100%, scale 1, and here we're going to have animation, not animation playstate, animation name, to include both of them. And of course this is not cross-browser, so let's make it work in Firefox as well. What we'll be doing is take this, okay, use that mask custom property, and now take this whole part here. This is actually exclude in the standard. So yeah. So yeah, this is pretty much it. This is what I wanted to show you for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you like the work that I've been putting out for more than 8 years now, please consider supporting it. You can do so by being a cool cat and becoming a patron on Patreon, or you can get me something off my Amazon wishlist, or you can at least share this to show the world what can be done with CSS these days, because honestly it's pretty damn cool. In any event, thanks for watching, and until next time.